This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3 on the map Infinity Isle. And as the Green Empire on the left side, it is Latex. And as the Blue Allies on the right side, he's from Team H2O, it's LiCtor! Alright, LiCtor versus Latex. Who in the world is Latex? Well, I don't rightly know too much. I have heard of him a little bit. I kind of know him via reputation and proxy through other people, but I have not ever spoke to him to myself. I don't think I've ever seen any of his replays, but I hear back in the day he was a pretty prominent Empire player, dropped off the map for probably a couple of years, and now he's back, so I wouldn't necessarily be like, oh, let's judge him based on this one game. I'd say, okay, let's take a look at this gameplay that he's showing us, and keep in mind that this is from a player who used to be good at Red Alert 3, who dropped off, and who may now not be at the top of his game. Very few players, when they're good and then leave and come back, there are very few that are actually still at the top of the game when they come back. So we'll have to see how he performs and what sort of things he's bringing to the table. First of all, he's going to be bringing that Mecha Bay before the third refinery, long before the third refinery. And that is going to be before that second power plant as well. So he's going to be getting that Mecha Bay up nice and early. And the first Tengu already out on the field, unless he sent the second power plant somewhere else and I'm just not seeing it. He's actually going to be going for a Defender Core as well, but there are Peacekeepers in the middle of the map. Yui is not in this game. LiCtor, on the other hand, is going for an airfield before that expansion. Of course, third refinery, not too crazily timed, not too much of an unusual timing. But the first Tengu is out, and getting that first Tengu advantage over the Vindicator of your opponent can be very, very nice, but taking the damage from those Javelin Troopers is not nearly as nice. And we'll have to see where that third refinery ends up going for Latex. Where's the power plant? Here's the power plant. The power plant out on the ridge could be exactly where Latex intends to move with those forces, with his expansion, rather. As the forces on the right side of the map mostly get cleaned up, but it's fairly even in terms of Peacekeepers and Imperial Warriors until the two Imperial Warriors kill off the last two Peacekeepers. And now it's mutually assured destruction. All the infantry are dead for both players. And Latex has 3 power plants, so he's definitely going to have enough power plants in that respect. But here comes the Apollo to chase away that one final Tengu, getting very close to death. But Latex going for more of a defensive style, going to be playing primarily just on those 2 refineries, which not something you see very often is 2 refinery center to play. However, we'll have to see if he's able to make use of the harassment abilities of Empire to start hitting on the third refinery of his opponent to try to even up that economic game, or even trying to be sniping down this oil derrick, although that may be coming with the Striker VXs in kind of the mid-game versus the Tengu action earlier on, and that Apollo will be able to escape without too much trouble. However, LiCtor will be able to really contend once these Tengus start to get up to that terrifying number, or it could just be the 5 Tengus. No, it's actually already going to be 6 Tengus, but it could be 6 Tengus into Tier 2. 5 Tengus into Tier 2 isn't too uncommon either, and kind of a basic strat that you can do. But no, it's just more and more Tengus going to be coming out of Latex, and this is something that I haven't seen in quite a while. I would call it a kind of older style, but then calling it an older style has a lot of different meanings, as I don't know how old this style actually is. I imagine it goes back to the beta, so I mean, maybe it's the original style, maybe it's not the older style, but it's something that we haven't seen, is this heavy Tengu dependency in too many games. A lot of Empire players just head straight for the Tier 2, especially if they think that cryocopters are going to be coming. Then they might try to go out for those Striker VXs, depending on what the allied opponent is doing. But the deflayed third refinery like this and the slower Tier 2 is not something you see super often. Although the Tier 2 should be coming out relatively soon here, although it may be an extra Tengu that's just very low on that's very low on money. And Latex is just taking a while to get out. Nope, it's Tier 2, and he could be starting those Tsunami tanks, or more likely, he is going to be going for those Strikers to help him clear the skies, because controlling the airspace, especially against multiple Apollos, can be very difficult depending on what allied player is controlling them. And if the LiCtor is on top of his control, he will be able to keep these Apollos alive for so long. It'll be very easy for him to just keep those guys alive as long as he's paying attention and he doesn't just let them sit out in the open and take a lot of damage from the Tengus, because that can be a serious trouble for our allied friend. The Vindicator is going to be coming in here. Will he be able to get any bombs off? It may just be causing a mass transform. The Apollos will be getting shredded one after another, and will any of them escape? Nice angle here from Latex, trying to intercept those Apollos and get between them and where they want to go. And the Apollos, they're getting deeper and deeper into Empire territory. The S-curves just aren't quite good enough. These Apollos are getting so close to running out of room to run. But, oh, and the nice surround there. He does clean up one more Apollo. That's 2 Apollos down. But is it going to be enough? One Apollo will be able to escape, and that was kind of a dangerous move, or not a super dangerous move by Latex, but a more dangerous move by LiCtor, trying to get those Apollos to safety. And LiCtor hasn't been going for the cryocopter focus that we see out of some allied players. However, he also has not really been doing too much in terms of harassment. He's been trying to pick off Tengu's when and where he can, but as of yet, he hasn't been able to do too much else with them. Adding on IFVs is, of course, a good thing to see out of LiCtor. He does indeed want those extra rockets just to deal with the Tengus, especially when you've only got 3 Apollos that you can build out on the field. Multi-gunner turrets are also out right onto the front lines for LiCtor. He's going to be trying to deal with the tanks of Latex. And I mean, Latex is going to be activating that speed boost. Nano deflectors are going to be leading these Tsunami tanks out onto the water and then up north around. And will they be going for that 3rd refinery location, or will they be going straight into the main base? There's 2 multi-gunner IFVs and also a multi-gunner turret here waiting for them. And also some Tengus taking a little bit of damage in the north side of the map. Guardian tanks now being pretty much completely useless until these units step foot back onto land. And we may actually end up seeing walls come out from Latex. If he's seen those Eminence replays, he may try to split the map in half with walls to try to stop any ground forces from coming right through the middle of the map. Because, of course, the land bridge in the middle is very important in terms of just Guardian tanks. However, Latex, does he have eyes on these Tsunami tanks? If he doesn't, when they crash upon these waves, upon the shore, the waves of Tsunami tanks are going to be very deadly. As you can see, the Guardian tanks are way out of position. Will it be enough time, though, for Latex to actually do the damage that he needs? There's 3 Guardian tanks already here, and the remaining Guardian tanks won't take too terribly long to arrive on the front lines, and Latex has not been able to do very much damage, but cleaning up this 3rd refinery out on the water is going to be pretty important, and also a pretty good move overall. He will be getting the sell-off, so LiCtor will be able to escape for the most part, but it looks like Latex is going to be pulling out those nano deflectors just for that extra bit of defense on that one Tsunami tank, which took a little bit of damage. And LiCtor is now in a curious position because of the imminent threat that the Tsunami tanks pose. He cannot just move out through the middle of the map unless he knows absolutely for certain that there is not going to be a counterattack. And this turns into a style that is very difficult to deal with as allies. It requires you to split your army in just the right way so that you have enough units to deal with the attack without getting overwhelmed, because it can turn into a situation where part of your army gets caught out of position, and then it's like, oh, well, because I didn't split my army just perfectly, now, you know, like maybe 4 of my tanks got caught out of position, and unfortunately now I'm going to be losing the game because I don't have enough forces all together to contend when he brings his army all together. So we'll have to see. However, Vindicators, Cryocopters, and the like will help to mitigate that problem for our allied player. And then at the same time, Latex isn't actually splitting up his forces to hit in multiple locations at once. Unfortunately, that one Tsunami tank, which took damage from that Vindicator a little bit earlier, won't be able to do a whole lot in this battle because he might actually end up getting left behind. No, he won't get left behind, but a couple of Vindicators will be coming in here, and we do have a command post, or command hub rather, still out on the field, which will be providing a little bit of that build radius in case LiCtor needs it to rebuild down here or get at those refineries back up and running. However, the multi-gunner turrets are now offline, and the leading Tsunami tanks will be going down, or at least taking a lot of damage. I don't know if that was necessarily the best choice. However, 2 Tsunami tanks do get eliminated, and that's, I mean, you're trading $2 grand for 1,600 in those power plants. The wall's coming down from LiCtor, and Latex doesn't want to get caught behind enemy lines, but the Vindicators are going to be coming in. There's a lot of Tsunami tanks out on the field. The Vindicators will be able to get killed up and cleaned up here, rather, by the Tsunamis, by the Tengus of our Empire player, and that is a lot of Tsunami tanks for out on the water, but a dozen more or so, actually that's exactly a dozen, out on the field in the middle of the map. More and more Tsunami tanks going to be pouring out from that mecha bay, and sitting on those 4 refineries is going to be so nice. What also would be really nice from LiCtor is a couple of cryocopters for that harassment opportunity. We have not seen pretty much any harassment come out from LiCtor, and that has allowed Latex to command this game and do what he wants, but we'll have to see if breaking through the front is going to be enough. He's got all of his Tsunami tanks in the I don't actually want to attack mode, which isn't always the best opportunity, but we'll have to see. It's going to be wearing off now, and he's going to be shredding through the forces of his opponent. Remember, on the right side of the map is the majority of the army for LiCtor. Is he going to be able to deal with this? The Guardian tanks are starting to make their way back across the map, but it looks like one Aegis cannon will be going down. Athena cannon, rather, will be going down, but a lot of Tsunami tanks have been eliminated for not a lot of gain. Latex is going to be pushing in. Look at that. He's going to be dealing with a command post, but really, is that the damage output that you need as Latex to win this game? I say no, but maybe I'm wrong. That was a lot of Tsunami tanks. That was 12 grand worth of Tsunami tanks, like several minutes of production. The Mirage tank is still out on the field. That Athena cannon, which was in the middle of Tsunami tanks, is still out on the field. I don't actually know how all of those Tsunami tanks went down. I didn't think there was that many Mirage tanks. Wait, is that another Mirage tank there? Okay, no, that's just rocks. That's just rocks. But, yeah, there's no health bars on the rocks. Those other 2 trees, well, one of them is a freshly formed Mirage tank. That Apollo will be getting the kill on at least 1 Tengu. Something else did go down as well. 3 Vindicators did go down, which kind of, helps to split the cost. And going for these Harvesters is actually going to be a nice move for Latex. Again, he needs to make sure that he stays on top of the economics of his opponent and maintains that economic lead, because for all of the yelling I did about how ineffective that engagement was and about how many Tsunami tanks went down, if you're on basically double the economy of your opponent, you can afford to be cost ineffective and still come out ahead. So as long as you're eliminating Harvesters and not losing too much, then you can still push on forward. But can you deal with the Mass Guardian tanks and Mirage tanks of your opponent? That's kind of the next question. And of course, Aegis Shield is going to be very important. The Athena cannons getting free shots off while the armies are kind of in home base and just staring at each other, shooting each other with their I-beams, as one would say, is kind of important, because any extra shots you get off with the Athena cannons, especially if units are in single file, can be so important. Let's not sacrifice tank busters to Mirage tanks. That's just a bad idea. You're going to have to get some nice money shots off on the Mirage tanks so that they don't just slaughter your infantry. Mixing in Tsunamis, but the Tsunamis are heading around the south side of the map. Ooh, this could be the attack that Latex needs. If he's able to smash down the main base of LiCtor, this could be the attack that he needs. A couple of power plants will be getting eliminated here. A couple of cryo blasts will be firing off. Not a huge deal, but a couple of tank busters giving their lives away. Will the Mirage tanks be able to deal with these tank busters in mass? It looks like the answer is yes. Nice control there by LiCtor, and now he can pretty much turn his army around, because he should have eyes on these Tsunami tanks on the lower ground. No, he's pushing on forward. He doesn't even care about this army that's going to be coming in here. It's going to be a full-on base trade, which typically is a bad idea with an Empire player just because of their ability to send units and buildings to all corners of the map. It is going to be the MCV, the target. The terrain, on the other hand, is really the biggest defeat here for Latex. Unfortunately for him, he has to deal with the terrible pathing of Red Alert 3. There's going to be the shrink down of that MCV, and the Tsunami tanks are going to be giving chase, kind of. They could turn on this airfield to make sure that there's no more cryocopters going to be produced out of it. Latex, you can kind of just trash the majority of this base. Just take out the airfield. I mean, the MCV is already packed up, so he doesn't have to worry about cryocopters, but he doesn't want to worry about allowing those aircraft to be able to refuel and, of course, get those repairs. That's just not a good thing to do. He did go for the kill on that airfield, which is, of course, going to be very nice. And the MCV, will it actually be going down? There is a second airfield on top of this, but more Javelin troopers pushing on forward here. They're the front line of defense, and a ton of DPS they do control. Collectively, they control. Not individually, they don't have a ton of DPS, but altogether, when you've got that many Javelin troopers, that's a lot of damage output, but we're still talking about a 3-refinery empire with a mecha bay that was on the low ground, which means it faced no threat against the army of LiCtor. When LiCtor was on the high ground, he, of course, can't take out that Tier 2 mecha bay, but the nano deflectors are likely going to be activated very soon here to allow these Tsunami tanks to escape out of this dangerous situation. LiCtor chasing down the Tsunami tanks with everything he's got, but there's the mass F coming out from Latex. He's just moving all of his Tsunami tanks out of range of his opponent. And the Athena cannons, their shots getting off were pretty incredible. One veteran, one fully heroic. Is there another thing? Nope, there's no more Athena cannons out on the map. Just those two, at least for now. Might be some more out on the map a little bit later. The MCV, where is it? I'm not actually sure. It's over here. Losing a Tier 3 MCV would be very important. Throwing an engineer inside of that MCV would be very important as well. Goodbye, Tsunami tank. And a rank up for that Guardian tank. So Latex, he took a lot of damage. He lost that refinery. He lost a fair amount of units. But he was able to escape with the majority of his army. And he's still sitting on those 3 refineries, soon to be sitting on a number 4. But actually, that spy sweep, for like one of the most useful spy sweeps in a competitive match, and also like one of 3 spy sweeps in a competitive match, going to be revealing the refinery location of Latex. And I don't know. Will Athena cannons, I mean, definitely from the high ground they can shoot. Definitely from the high ground they can take down that refinery. But can they actually hit it from down here? The fully heroic one might be able to. Oh, trapping a fully heroic Tsunami tank. That's no fun. Did he actually use? Yeah, he used the Tank Buster Surprise. Not going to be super effective there, as there are more effective ways to kill things. But, I mean, if you can sneak them by your opponent, 5 Tank Busters in the back of their base is going to be very, very important. The barracks does go down. The Vindicators are out on the field, and some free shots will be had for Latex, but it's not going to be quite enough to really even the score. On the other hand, a couple of cryocopters could help to even the odds in terms of that refinery. There is a couple of cryocopters, only 2, which will still take a fair amount of time to freeze down. It's triple airfield. LiCtor's like, hey, you killed one of my airfields when I was on 2 airfields, but now, really, I'm just going to build a lot more airfields. Oh my gosh, are we going to be seeing Tier 3? It should be Wave Force Artillery, but maybe it'll be King Onis. It would be a little bit unusual if it was King Onis. We could also be seeing Shogun battleships, as generally just Tier 3 artillery are better than whatever other options Tier 3 armies have, especially against allies when the shrink ray is just so powerful and cryocopters can nullify any Tier 3 unit relatively quickly. But a couple of cryocopters out on the field are certainly going to help LiCtor even the odds against potentially overwhelming forces from his opponent, as long as he engages all at the same time. Nice bomb splitting there by LiCtor. Doesn't want to be wasting any extra shots on tanks that are already close to death. So going to be able to eliminate those. Did he get the fully heroic one? He did indeed. Look at that. LiCtor going to be eliminating fully heroic Tsunami tanks of his opponent. I'm assuming he's also going to be looking to clean up this refinery at some point. But at the same time, Latex has bought so much time for himself. So much time. In that LiCtor moved forward with that huge, scary army. Look at that. No, not even the fully heroic guy. Both of those. Wow, those Athena cannons. The range on them is so incredible when they've got that vision. Goodbye, Tsunami tanks. At the same time, Latex has had the opportunity to build up and engage when he wants. Oh, nice control there by LiCtor. Going to be engaging extremely cost-effectively with those Apollos. How many Tengus did go down? Well, it's more than 2, which means that it was not cost-effective to engage and only kill 1 Apollo for however many Tengus he traded, like 3 or 4. We're talking about double or triple the cost of that one single Apollo. And again, Latex is starting to establish that economy that has led him to stay in this game for so long. And at the same time, LiCtor is pushing out with a pretty big air force. I mean, he's got a fair amount of... He's got enough Vindicators to actually just one-shot a refinery. That's how many Vindicators he has. It's a total of 8, and an additional 4 Apollos out on the field. Needs to make sure that he gets repairs. Oh, these Tengus taking a lot of shots here, and that is free damage out for... Oh, almost free damage, as 1 Mecha Tengu does escape. I think 1 Apollo went down. There's 2 over there and 2. No, all 4 Apollos did survive. that was basically free damage for LiCtor. And also, look at that. I wonder if that was the baller Peacekeeper. He, like, killed that Tengu. And those poor balloons, they just weren't able to do a whole lot. Latex, on the other hand, he's currently going to be down to just those 3 refineries. Can he actually establish a 4th refinery up here? That would be very important for him to do. Oh, wow. He's actually getting dangerously close to mining out. All right, this is ridiculous. Those are some big waves. He's getting ridiculously close to mining out this refinery. It's only going to be like another 4 or 5 trips or something. Wait, is it 250 each? Yeah, it's 250, so it's going to be like 5 more trips at this point, I think. I can't do math. At any rate, this ore collector has a lot more to mine from here than he does to there. So it would be in Latex's best interest to actually go ahead and get those resources. Get them resources, son. Get them monies. And there goes the Mecha Bay. So that was actually a great move there by LiCtor. I kept wanting to call him Liquid somebody, but Liquid Tasia just doesn't play Red Alert 3, which would be pretty sweet, but Tasia would probably just break the game. Back. Why is it locked to 30 FPS? I click way more than 30 times a second, and I'm going to need at least 60 FPS to handle the sheer amount of inputs that I have. I don't know if that's actually how it works. I wonder how many inputs you can put into Red Alert 3 that it can actually handle, because if it's only refreshing 30 times a second, are there any inputs that you would need to put in that you would need to be able to see more than 30 frames per second to actually, I mean, I wouldn't think so. But at any rate, that's getting far too of an abstract concept to really think about. Tank busters, not really doing a whole lot, but they're free. They're free. They are giving away veterancy, though. That's the thing you do have to think about. That's so many Vindicators. LiCtor is so powerful in this game. And he can't even do anything, because like 90% of his army is landlocked. So he can't do anything. Shogun battleships, it took him about 20 minutes to get out onto the field, but they're finally here. Latex, I don't think it's possible for him to win, like from the past 5 or 6 minutes. Like LiCtor would just have to give up so much of his army that it would be just like impossible to win. That's a lot of air forces that are going down. It's hard to tell exactly who's killing what, but that's a lot of Apollos going to be able to clean up a lot of Tengus. And by a lot of Apollos, I mean 2 Apollos cleaning up a lot of Tengus. Striker VX has also got a ton of shots off there, so there's a couple of Vindicators missing there. So at the very least, 5 Vindicators did go down, as I don't think any Apollos went down. Actually, maybe a couple of Apollos that did end up going down, but 5 aircraft at least ended up going down, giving away 3 Chopper VXs. This is not what you want to do, Latex. Latex playing pretty powerfully for the majority of that game. LiCtor going for the more campy style that he's somewhat known for. He does have some very aggressive builds on various maps, but overall, sometimes he does play defensively. When you're facing an Empire player like that, it's hard to play anything but defensively. However, when he did move out, he just smashed through the main base of Latex eventually. I mean, he smashed through the 3rd base at first. Well, actually, I guess it was 4th base. At any rate, resources graph will reveal that Latex was behind for at least half of that game, and then he was ahead for the second half of that game in total resources. Very, very similar between these two players. Cost effectiveness, not so the same, not so similar between these two players. As you could tell, LiCtor was just way more efficient. I think we saw that in part due just to the mass veterancy on so many of his units throughout this game. And Latex was trying to do some cutesy, like, multi-prong attack things. Didn't really work out. He wasn't able to really do the damage that he needs. He had a couple of opportunities, but I don't think it was ever enough time to really do the damage. Like, the Guardian tanks were never that far away. They were never, like, so far away that it's like, oh, he's gonna kill a refinery and, like, do all this other stuff while you're getting your army across the map. It was never that big of a deal. But at the same time, Latex was out on the water for a fair bit there. He wasn't able to really leverage that into a realistic sort of advantage. He eventually was able to get out those Shogun battleships, but again, they were so late in the game, and they have pretty limited utility in actually dealing with stuff, especially against a triple airfield allied player. So yeah, Shogun battleships not necessarily always the best choice, but at that point, Latex didn't have a lot of options. However, that will be doing it, so a solid match overall. Not a super great match, but LiCtor showing some definite power and some definite macro capabilities. That will be doing it for that game. I hope you all enjoyed watching it. And of course, be sure to check out Fizzin, some of the casts that he's been doing pretty lately, and they've been pretty solid. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Sybert signing out, and of course, thank you all for watching.